Good afternoon, everybody. How you all doing? Having a good flight sim weekend. It's been very busy. My name's Zach Priest. I'm a business development manager for Moza Flight. I'm a certified pilot in the United States with several hundred hours across various types of aircraft, very active in the vintage aircraft community. And the presentation's today going to be a little bit different than a product announcement. It's going to be talking about intersections between aviation and simulation. It's something I've been passionate about for a long time, and like many people here today, my first exposure to aviation did not start in the cockpit. It does happen through flight simulation. Over time, obviously, that led to flight training and flying real aircraft, and the opportunity to view that perspective from both sides has been very rewarding. And today, I'd like to talk about where flight simulation has come from and what we at Moza believe is the next important dimension in its evolution. Flight simulations advanced dramatically over the past decade. As many of you know, aircraft systems and modeling are modeled with remarkable detail. Things from electrical systems to hydraulics and avionics are simulated in extraordinarily high fidelity, and aerodynamic models have become far more sophisticated than any of us could have imagined. I started on Microsoft Flight Simulator X and then reverted to Jane's F-18. And it's not something that many people would have seen back then. Visual environments we fly to today are incredibly immersive, incredibly detailed. Many times with certain monitors or VR headsets, it feels as if you're almost there. The photogrammetry, the simulated imagery, and weather systems that we see are second to none. And in many ways, what we see on the screen can mimic what we would see with our own two eyes. There's still an important dimension that historically has been inaccessible to community or to the consumers, dating back to, as many of you may have had, the Sidewinder joystick. Right now, flying is not only a visual experience. Pilots physically interact with the aircraft in every regime of flight, and we feel control, pressure, changes as airspeed increases and decreases. We feel the aircraft settle into new pitch attitudes when trim is introduced, and we feel aerodynamic loading through the controls. We feel buffet approaching a stall, as many of you who may have taken flight training have experienced potentially the soupiness in the flight controls that comes as you transition from a regular regime of flight into the stall or post-stall condition. And the tactile feel is a fundamental way of how aviators in the start of aviation and aviators today experience flight and follow through with their next actions in determining what to do. Often those cues can provide information even before instruments do. In many cases, there's been instances where you would feel engine vibration change as you've had an engine failure or a cylinder failure or a spark plug is fouled up, and that's something that is incredibly valuable to have, not only in the real world, but in the simulator. For decades, simulation has replicated these visual and procedural aspects extremely well, but the physical communication between pilot and aircraft has historically been limited. When simulation hardware can reproduce some of those physical cues, the experience begins to change. Users gain improved control awareness, they develop a better understanding of aerodynamic behavior, interaction with the aircraft becomes far more intuitive. Instead of relying entirely on visual information, the simulator can communicate through both visual and physical aspects now. Many of you who might have visited the Moza booth have experienced our force feedback hardware in action and have had the ability to feel this firsthand. Many of the physical cues I talked about earlier, such as those aerodynamic changes, the changes in trim and pitch attitude, the changes in engine vibration, ground roll, those are all things that the simulator is capable of reproducing and something that we are able to do with our hardware, and it really connects the pilot to the simulator, and in turn, the pilot to the aircraft, which is an incredible tool in learning to fly new aircraft in the simulator, but also bridging the gap between the home pilot and the feeling of immersion. For virtual pilots, this brings an unprecedented level of immersion and something that, again, has been lacking for the better part of 2 decades. One of the most fascinating aspects of flying is the relationship between pilot and aircraft. The aerobatic image here, I hope, communicates that well. But when you're flying an aircraft, again, the aircraft constantly communicates through the controls. High airspeed, the controls become heavier. Trim is set correctly. The aircraft will maintain airspeed, will maintain altitude. It's equilibrium. Near the edge of the flight envelope, the field of controls begin to change, and the subtle cues help the pilot interpret aircraft behavior almost instinctively. In aerobatics training, for example, feeling like you're on the edge of the stall environment is a great way to understand the transition from controlled flight into the post-stall environment, and something that the simulator is highly capable of doing. The communication between pilot and machine is one of the most unique parts of aviation and one of the most unique connections between human and tool. And historically, it's been difficult to reproduce in aviation at the consumer level. Force feedback technology allows simulation hardware to begin the reintroduction of that communication channel. The simulator can translate those aerodynamic forces into physical resistance in the controls. Trim adjustments, again, stall environments, ground roll, engine RPM, engine failure, all options that you can have in the simulator. And instead of simply relying on one control device, the user begins to feel the aircraft come to life. Moza approaches simulation hardware from a strong engineering perspective. The company was founded by engineers and simulation enthusiasts with backgrounds in robotics, motion control systems, and high-quality performance motors. These are fields that require extremely precise control over motion and force. The engineering background that our company has allows us to focus on precision, response speed, and accurate force control. Simulation hardware is not simply about creating devices that move. It's about creating systems capable of reproducing these physical communication channels between human and machine. Many of the technologies used in flight simulation hardware share similarities to sim racing technology. Both environments require extremely precise torque control, fast response to dynamic forces, and Moza's developed much of its expertise through the sim racing industry, where force feedback technology has become an essential part of, again, that connection between human and machine. Because the engineering challenges are similar, innovations in one field can benefit another, and the same motion control technology used to simulate tire forces can be adapted to simulate aerodynamic forces. Another important concept of us is the idea of building ecosystems rather than isolated devices. Simulation users rarely interact with one piece of hardware. A complete setup may include a flight base, a flight stick, throttle grips, may include rudder pedals, or various screens that you interact with in the physical realm. Our goal is to design hardware that works together as a unified simulation environment. This allows users to build systems that scale depending on their needs. And some users may start with a simple desktop setup. Others may build full cockpit environments. Another goal for us is accessibility. We want to advance simulation hardware to be available to as many people in the community as possible. One thing you may notice if you visit our booth this weekend is the pricing or the messaging behind how we price our products. We want to make these products accessible to the community, and I think everybody would be pleasantly surprised when they take a look at the pricing we have and the pricing that we want to set in the future to provide this accessibility of force feedback to the community. Simulation technology continues to evolve rapidly. Software platforms are becoming more advanced, hardware is becoming more precise, and integration between the two continues to deepen. The communities around simulation, from enthusiasts to pilots to virtual pilots and engineers, continue to grow. Flight simulation has already come an incredible distance. Visual realism has improved dramatically. Aircraft systems modeling is extraordinarily detailed. And the connection between human and machine is possible through the simulator. It's something that we want to continue to expand on with our product line. And I invite everybody in the room to visit our booth, booth 20, inside of the hall to the left. And anybody who has any feedback on our products, our booth, our presentation, or has any opportunities for collaboration or any desire to collaborate in the media space, the hardware space, or interesting ideas, feel free to reach out to me. There's my email. And then please follow us on our social medias if you would be so inclined or have any interest in following us by scanning the QR code there. And I'd be happy to take any questions in the meantime. Any questions? Yes.
Thanks for the presentation.
Absolutely.
I don't know actually, so that's the case. But are you planning to release some sort of runners with force feedback?
At this time, I have no information to share. If we do, it's something that we'll share in the future. His question was: is there any plans to release force feedback rudder pedals? Any other questions? Any jokes? Any questions about airplanes, hardware, anything? All right. Well, hey, I hope everybody has a wonderful remaining day, a wonderful remaining weekend. I really appreciate everybody coming out to our presentation, and we hope that you visit our booth. What's the current time? I think we have a competition still going for about 45 minutes where you can win an AB6, an MHG flight stick, or a merch bag. We're working with National Stoll, who is doing a Stoll competition at our booth. Winners will be announced tomorrow. And then today we're also doing partnered giveaways with Microsoft Flight Simulator at their booth, where you can win an AB6, MRP rudder pedals, or our MTQ throttle. Last call for questions. Yes? The MGX 1000 unit, when is it expected to be released and how much will it cost? So right now we're hoping sometime this year for the release of the MGX 1000 unit. I don't have pricing to share right now, but I think you'll be pleasantly surprised when it is announced. No problem. Any other questions? All right. Well, I appreciate everybody. Again, have a great weekend. And again, reach out to me if you have any ideas for collaboration or any feedback. Have a good afternoon, everybody.